The burgundy Maserati Quattroporte gleamed like liquid fire as it cut through the rain-soaked streets of Beverly Hills. Behind the wheel sat Ella, 26 years old, with honey blonde hair that cost more to maintain than most people's monthly salary. Ella wasn't just wealthy, she was generationally rich. Trust fund baby, daddy's little princess, the kind of woman who thought her bank account was a measure of her worth. Her passenger seat companion, Kate, was a study in contrast. Where Ella sparkled with designer everything, Kate wore simple elegance, a reflection of her genuine humble nature. God, Kate, I hate driving through this part of town when it's raining. All these people walking around like they own the sidewalks, Ella said, checking her diamond-encrusted watch. Ella, we're in Beverly Hills. It's not exactly the slums, Kate replied softly. Ella laughed coldly. Please. Just because the address is fancy doesn't mean everyone here belongs. Look at that guy ahead, walking in designer jeans and a hoodie like he's somebody important. Probably works at one of those trendy coffee shops, pretending he's an artist or something. The man Ella was mocking walked with quiet confidence despite the downpour. Dylan, 32, moved through the rain like he owned not just the sidewalks, but the entire city block. Which, as it happened, he did. Dylan was worth $2.8 billion. Hotels, tech companies, real estate empires, his fingerprints were on half the skyline of Los Angeles. But today, like every day for the past 6 months, he'd deliberately chosen to dress down. Faded jeans, simple gray hoodie, worn sneakers. He was conducting an experiment of the heart. You see, Dylan had a problem that money couldn't solve. Every woman who approached him saw dollar signs before they saw his soul. So he'd started this test. Dress like an ordinary guy, meet women as just Dylan, not Dylan the billionaire. He was searching for something real, something authentic. Something money couldn't buy. He had no idea he was about to find it in the most unexpected way. As Ella's Maserati approached the crosswalk where Dylan waited for the light to change, fate set the stage for a collision of worlds. Ella saw the massive puddle at the same time she saw Dylan. Where most people would slow down out of courtesy, Ella saw an opportunity to make a statement about social hierarchy. Watch this, Kate. Time to remind people of their place. Ella smirked. Ella, no, don't, Kate said, alarmed. But it was too late. Ella gunned the engine and hit the puddle at full speed. A tsunami of muddy water erupted from beneath her tires, completely drenching Dylan from head to toe. Dylan stood there, dripping wet, his clothes soaked through. Any normal person would have been furious. They'd have screamed, cursed, maybe even called the police. But Dylan didn't become a billionaire by losing his temper at every setback. Well, that's one way to test someone's character, Dylan said calmly to himself. Ella rolled down her window, her face glowing with malicious satisfaction. Hey, next time try taking an Uber instead of walking in the rain like some homeless person. Maybe invest in an umbrella instead of whatever that outfit is supposed to be, she shouted mockingly. Kate's face went pale with embarrassment and horror. Ella, stop. You just soaked that man completely, Kate protested. So? He'll dry off. Besides, he probably needed a shower anyway. Did you see those shoes? I wouldn't be caught dead in Target clearance like that. Ella continued laughing. But something in Dylan's reaction caught Kate's attention. Instead of anger or humiliation, she saw something else in his eyes, amusement. Like he was watching a fascinating social experiment unfold. Most men would have been screaming obscenities by now. This one just observed. Kate got out of the car despite the rain. Sir, I am so incredibly sorry. Please let me. It's okay. Really. These things happen, Dylan replied with a gentle smile. His voice was cultured, educated, with the kind of quiet confidence that comes from never needing to prove anything to anyone. Kate noticed immediately. No, it's not okay. My friend, she was completely out of line. Here, please take this. Kate pulled off her own jacket, a simple but elegant coat that she clearly treasured, and offered it to Dylan. I can't take your jacket. You'll get soaked, Dylan said, surprised by the genuine kindness. I insist. It's the least I can do. I'm Kate, by the way. Kate. Dylan. Dylan Smith, he replied, accepting the coat and studying her face. Even soaking wet and being mocked, Dylan found himself using a fake last name out of habit. But as he looked into Kate's eyes, genuinely concerned, authentically kind, he felt something shift inside his chest. Ella honked the horn impatiently. Kate, get back in the car. You're making us late and frankly, I'm embarrassed to be associated with this charity work. That encounter should have been the end of it. A rude rich girl, a kind friend, a soaked stranger. But Dylan didn't become successful by ignoring opportunities when they presented themselves. Over the next few days, Dylan found himself thinking about Kate. Not Ella, her cruelty had been instantly forgettable. But Kate's immediate compassion, her willingness to stand up to her friend, the way she'd given up her own comfort for a stranger, that was rare. So Dylan did what any curious billionaire would do. He had his people find out everything about Kate. What he discovered only intrigued him more. Kate was 24, worked as a kindergarten teacher at a public school in Burbank. She volunteered at animal shelters on weekends, sent half her paycheck to help her elderly mother in Oregon, and had never been on a vacation that cost more than $500. She was also Ella's roommate and had been her best friend since college, a friendship that was clearly one-sided, with Kate constantly making excuses for Ella's behavior. Dylan made a decision. If Kate was as genuine as she seemed, she deserved to be tested too. But his test would be different from Ella's cruelty. His would be about discovering if kindness could bloom into something deeper. 3 days after the puddle incident, Kate was leaving Roosevelt Elementary School when she literally bumped into a familiar figure. Kate? It's Dylan from the other day. Kate brightened immediately. Dylan, how are you? I've been feeling terrible about what happened. Did you catch a cold? Are your clothes ruined? Dylan was struck again by her immediate concern for his well-being. When was the last time someone had worried about him catching cold? I'm fine, really. Actually, I was hoping I'd run into you. I never got the chance to properly thank you for the jacket and the kindness. You don't need to thank me for basic human decency, Kate replied. Basic human decency? Dylan almost laughed. In his world of corporate sharks and gold diggers, basic human decency was rarer than platinum. Can I buy you coffee? As a thank you. Kate hesitated. I should probably get home. Ella's expecting me, and she's still pretty upset about the other day. Upset? About what? Kate sighed. She thinks I embarrassed her by helping you. She said it made us look desperate for attention from random men on the street. Dylan felt a flash of anger, but kept his expression neutral. Ella was revealing exactly who she was, word by toxic word. And what do you think? Dylan asked. I think treating people with respect shouldn't be something to be embarrassed about, Kate said, meeting his eyes. In that moment, Dylan, man who owned newspapers, influenced elections, and could buy small countries, knew he was falling for a kindergarten teacher who probably had less than $1,000 in her savings account. Just one coffee, Kate. I promise I'm not random. Something in his tone made her look at him more carefully. There was a depth there, a quiet certainty that suggested Dylan Smith was much more than he appeared to be. That coffee turned into 3 hours at a small cafe near the school. Dylan, used to power lunches and champagne toasts, found himself enchanted by Kate's stories about her kindergarten students, her dreams of opening a literacy program for underprivileged kids, her quiet wisdom about life. You're a good listener, Dylan. Most guys I meet just wait for their turn to talk about themselves, Kate observed. Maybe that's because you're worth listening to, Dylan replied. The compliment was simple, but Kate felt it down to her bones. When was the last time someone had made her feel valuable for her thoughts, not just her willingness to go along with Ella's schemes? Over the following weeks, Dylan and Kate began meeting regularly. Always casual, coffee after her work, walks in the park, simple dinners at modest restaurants. Dylan was careful to maintain his ordinary guy persona, paying with cash, choosing locations that fit his supposed budget. But he couldn't hide his intelligence, his worldliness, or the way he seemed to understand business and economics with unusual depth. One evening over Italian food, Kate asked, Dylan, can I ask you something? Anything. What do you do for work? You always seem, I don't know, like you understand things most people don't. Dylan's heart pounded. This was the moment of truth in every relationship, when his fake identity met reality. I work in consulting, business consulting, helping companies with strategic decisions, he said carefully. It wasn't entirely a lie. He did make strategic decisions just for companies he owned rather than consulted for. That must be rewarding. helping people solve their problems. If only she knew the kinds of problems he solved involved billion-dollar mergers and international trade agreements. Meanwhile, Ella had noticed Kate's improved mood and new glow. "You've been awfully happy lately, Kate. And you're never home anymore. Please tell me you're not still thinking about that homeless-looking guy from the rain incident," Ella said suspiciously. "His name is Dylan, and he's not homeless. He's actually incredibly intelligent and kind," Kate replied defensively. "Kind doesn't pay rent, Kate. Intelligent doesn't buy designer handbags. When are you going to learn that dating beneath your station only brings you down?" "Beneath my station? Ella, I'm a teacher. I make $35,000 a year. I don't have a station. You have me as a friend. That automatically elevates you. But if you keep associating with losers, people will think less of both of us." Kate felt something crack inside her chest. For the first time in their 8-year friendship, she saw Ella's words for what they really were: cruel, shallow, and designed to keep Kate small. The turning point came on a Saturday evening 6 weeks after the puddle incident. Dylan had finally worked up the courage to tell Kate the truth about who he was. He'd planned the perfect evening, nothing too extravagant that would scare her away, but special enough to mark the occasion. He'd booked a table at Chez Laurent, a modest French bistro that was elegant but not intimidating. He'd practiced his speech dozens of times. He was ready to lay his heart bare. But Kate never showed up. Because 3 hours earlier, Ella had received the shock of her life. She'd been getting her nails done at her usual upscale salon when she overheard 2 women at the next station talking. "Did you see that article in Forbes about Dylan Brooks? Apparently, he's been spotted around town dressed like a regular guy. Some kind of social experiment," one woman said. "Dylan Brooks? The billionaire? Why would he dress down?" the other replied. "The article said he's looking for genuine love. Tired of gold diggers, wants to find someone who'll love him for who he is, not his bank account." Ella's blood turned to ice as the description continued. Early 30s, tall, dark hair, recently seen in the Beverly Hills area. "Oh my God, the guy in the rain. The guy Kate's been seeing," Ella whispered to herself, horrified. Ella raced home and burst into their apartment, where Kate was getting ready for her date with Dylan. Kate, you have to listen to me. That guy you've been seeing, Dylan Smith or whatever he told you his name was, I know who he really is." "What are you talking about?" Kate asked, confused. "He's Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks, the billionaire. He's worth nearly $3 billion, Kate. Oh God, I soaked him with my car." Kate stood frozen, her simple black dress suddenly feeling inadequate. "That's impossible. Dylan's a consultant. He's just a normal guy." Ella was frantic, pulling up articles on her phone. Look at these photos. It's him, Kate. It's definitely him." Kate stared at the images on Ella's phone. Dylan in expensive suits at charity galas. Dylan shaking hands with politicians and celebrities. Dylan Brooks, one of the youngest billionaires in America. "He lied to me," Kate whispered. "Kate, don't you see what this means? He was testing you. And you passed. You could marry him. You could be a billionaire's wife." But Kate wasn't hearing opportunity. She was hearing betrayal. For 6 weeks, she'd been falling in love with Dylan Smith, the modest consultant. Now she discovered he'd been Dylan Brooks, the billionaire, the entire time. I need to think." "Think? Kate, this is the lottery. This is winning the jackpot. You have to go to that dinner tonight." But Kate was already taking off her dress, her heart breaking with every breath. "I can't face him, Ella. He lied about everything. How do I know anything between us was real?" While Kate locked herself in her room, crying over what felt like the death of something beautiful, Ella was having the revelation of her lifetime. She'd humiliated a billionaire. She'd mocked one of the richest men in America. But more importantly, she'd lost him to her nobody roommate. Ella stared at herself in the mirror, her mind racing. Kate was too emotional, too hurt to see the opportunity. But Ella saw it clear as crystal. He wanted to find genuine love? Someone who cares about character over money? I can be that person. I can be exactly what he's looking for, Ella said to her reflection. Ella spent an hour crafting the perfect outfit. Designer clothes that looked expensive but not flashy. Makeup that suggested natural beauty. hair styled to appear effortless. She practiced expressions of humility in the mirror. Then she drove to Chez Laurent, where Dylan sat alone at a table for two, checking his watch and wondering if Kate had gotten cold feet about their relationship. "Ella," Dylan said, looking up as she approached. "Dylan, I need to talk to you. About Kate, about everything," Ella said with practiced vulnerability. Dylan's expression hardened. The last person he wanted to see tonight was the woman who'd humiliated him and shown her true colors so clearly. "Where's Kate?" Ella sat uninvited. "She's struggling with some things she learned about you today." "Dylan, I know who you really are." Dylan's jaw tightened. His worst fear, being discovered before he was ready to reveal himself. "I see. I want you to know that I deeply, deeply regret how I treated you that day. I was going through a difficult time and I took it out on an innocent person. It was inexcusable." The apology was smooth, practiced, perfectly delivered. But Dylan hadn't built an empire by being fooled by polished presentations. "And Kate? How does she feel about who I am?" Ella replied with calculated sadness. "She's hurt that you lied to her. She feels like your entire relationship was built on deception. She doesn't think she can trust you anymore." Each word was a knife in Dylan's chest, but Ella continued with surgical precision. "But Dylan, I understand why you did it. You were looking for someone genuine. Someone who would love you for who you are inside." "I get that now." "Do you?" Dylan asked coldly. "Yes. And I want you to know that day in the rain it changed me. Seeing Kate's kindness, witnessing your grace under pressure, it made me realize how shallow I'd become. How cruel." Ella leaned forward, her eyes glistening with manufactured tears. "I've spent these past weeks thinking about the kind of person I want to be. The kind of woman who deserves a man like you. Dylan, I think we both know that sometimes the worst moments in our lives can become the catalysts for becoming our best selves." Dylan listened to Ella's performance with the detached interest of a man who'd heard every sales pitch, every manipulation tactic, every false promise in the book. She was good, very good. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated him. Dylan stood up. "Ella, that was quite a speech. But there's one problem with your story. I never told Kate I was taking her to dinner tonight. So how exactly did she learn who I really am?" Ella's face went white. In her eagerness to seize the opportunity, she'd revealed her own betrayal. "You found out who I was, didn't you? And instead of letting me tell Kate myself, you sabotaged our relationship so you could swoop in and play the reformed woman." "Dylan, that's not— I would never," Ella stammered. "You would. You did. The same selfishness that made you splash water on a stranger made you destroy your best friend's happiness for your own gain." Dylan's voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of absolute authority. "Ella, I've spent the last 6 weeks falling in love with a woman who gave me her jacket in the rain. A woman who worried about a stranger catching cold. A woman who sees value in people regardless of their bank account." He leaned closer, his eyes boring into Ella's soul. "You are the opposite of everything I'm looking for. Your apology isn't genuine, it's strategic. Your tears aren't real, they're calculated. And your friendship with Kate isn't based on love. It's based on what she can do for you. Dylan, please, I can change. I can be better." Ella said desperately. "People don't change their fundamental character, Ella. They just get better at hiding it. You showed me who you really are in that car 6 weeks ago. Everything since then has been an act." Dylan stood up, dropping a $100 bill on the table. "Enjoy your dinner, Ella. It's the closest you'll ever get to my money." Dylan drove through the rain to Kate's apartment, his heart pounding with the fear that he'd lost the only woman who'd ever loved him for who he truly was inside. He found Kate sitting on the steps outside her building, still in her pajamas, tears streaming down her face. "Kate," Kate said, looking up as he approached. "Kate, please let me explain. You lied to me. For 6 weeks you lied about everything." "Not everything. My feelings for you, those were the most honest thing in my life." Dylan sat down on the wet steps, not caring about his expensive clothes. "Kate, I've been rich my entire life. Every woman I've ever dated has seen dollar signs before she's seen me. They laugh at my jokes because I can buy them jewelry. They tell me I'm handsome because I can take them to Paris for the weekend. So you decided to lie to me instead?" Kate asked softly. "I decided to give you the chance to know me. The real me. Not my bank account, not my companies, not my reputation. Just Dylan. Kate looked at him through her tears. But you don't trust me. You thought I was just like all the others. No, Kate. I thought you were different from the beginning. That's why I was so scared to tell you the truth. Dylan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. I was going to tell you tonight. Everything. I was going to ask you to marry me, not as Dylan Brooks the billionaire, but as the man who fell in love with a kindergarten teacher who gave a stranger her jacket in the rain. Kate gasped. Dylan. I don't care if you can't forgive me for the deception. I don't care if you never want to see me again. But I need you to know that every moment we spent together, every conversation, every laugh, every time I told you that you were beautiful, all of it was real. More real than anything in my life has ever been. Kate stared at the ring box, then up at Dylan's face, seeing the vulnerability there, the fear, the desperate hope. Ella told me you were conducting some kind of experiment, testing women to see if they were gold diggers. I was. But Kate, you passed that test in the first 30 seconds when you got out of the car in the rain to apologize for something you didn't do. Everything after that was just me falling deeper in love with who you are. Kate was quiet for a long moment, processing everything. You really thought I might be different? I knew you were different. That's what terrified me. 6 months later, the Beverly Hills Gazette ran a story that became the most talked about wedding of the year. Dylan Brooks, billionaire philanthropist, married Kate, elementary school teacher, in a ceremony that perfectly reflected both of their values. The reception was held at Dylan's estate, but instead of an exclusive affair for the wealthy elite, the couple had invited Kate's students, Dylan's employees from every level of his companies, and representatives from the charities they both supported. Ella was not invited. She learned about the wedding the same way everyone else did, from social media posts and news articles. She sat in her apartment, alone, staring at photos of Kate in a stunning but understated wedding dress, glowing with happiness as she danced with her billionaire husband. The irony was inescapable. Ella had always believed that money was the key to happiness, that wealthy men were the ultimate prize. But watching Kate's radiant joy, she realized that her former roommate hadn't won the lottery. She'd won something far more valuable. She'd won genuine love. In the months following the wedding, Ella watched from afar as Dylan and Kate became one of philanthropy's most powerful couples. They opened literacy centers in underserved communities. They funded scholarships for teachers. They used Dylan's wealth to amplify Kate's compassion, creating programs that helped thousands of people. Ella tried dating other wealthy men, but the magic was gone. Every interaction felt hollow, every relationship transactional. She'd had her chance at something real, and she'd thrown it away for the sake of preserving her image. Meanwhile, Kate and Dylan's love story became the stuff of legend. Dylan finally had someone who loved him for his mind, his humor, his kindness. Kate had found a partner who valued her intelligence, supported her dreams, and shared her desire to make the world better. But the most beautiful part of their story wasn't the fairy tale ending. It was the way they both remained exactly who they'd always been at their cores. Dylan still wore simple clothes when he wasn't working. Kate still taught kindergarten, though she now also ran the educational foundation they'd started together. Money hadn't changed their values, it had simply given them the power to act on them in bigger ways. 1 year after the wedding, Kate was volunteering at a homeless shelter when she saw a familiar figure across the room. Ella, serving soup to the dinner line, looking tired but somehow lighter than Kate had seen her in years. After the dinner service, the two women finally spoke. Kate, I wasn't sure you'd want to see me, Ella said. I wasn't sure either. But I'm glad I did. You look different. I am different. Losing you, losing the chance at happiness I threw away, it forced me to look at who I really was. And I didn't like what I saw. Ella's voice was quiet, genuinely humble for perhaps the first time in her life. I've been volunteering here for 6 months now, working with people who have nothing but still find ways to be kind to each other. It's taught me things I never learned in all my years of privilege. Like what? Kate asked. That character isn't something you can buy. That respect is earned through actions, not inherited through bank accounts. That the richest person in the room isn't always the one with the most money. Kate felt a familiar stirring of compassion, the same feeling that had made her get out of the car in the rain all those months ago. Ella, Would you like to have coffee sometime? Really talk. Ella's eyes filled with tears, real ones this time. I'd like that. But Kate, I need you to know I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect friendship. I just want you to know that your example, even after everything I did to you, it saved me from becoming someone I couldn't live with. And in that moment, Kate understood something profound about the ripple effects of kindness. Her choice to show compassion to a stranger in the rain hadn't just changed her own life. It had eventually changed Ella's too. Because sometimes the greatest victory isn't winning the prize for yourself. Sometimes it's showing others that there's a better way to be human. The next time you see someone who looks ordinary, remember Dylan Brooks. The next time you're tempted to judge someone by their appearance, remember Kate. And the next time you want to treat someone with cruelty just because you can, remember Ella, and the fortune she lost because she couldn't see past the surface. In a world obsessed with appearances, bank accounts, and social status, the greatest riches are still the ones that can't be bought. Kindness, humility, and the wisdom to see the gold in people's hearts rather than their wallets. Because you never know, the person you're dismissing today might be the one who could change your life tomorrow. If only you knew. If you were truly inspired by this story, kindly like and subscribe to our channel.